Meyer. He is DePaul. The 20s, a time of gangsters, breadlines, and bathtub gin. One city, Chicago, roared into the 20s like no other city in America. And on Chicago's west side, a young boy is learning the game that'll later make him famous. His name, Ray Meyer. His game, basketball. Ray Meyer's learning the game right where 4 decades of his players will learn it, on Chicago's playgrounds. For young Ray, his homes away from home are the Lawson Playground and St. Agatha's grade school gym.
I don't know, I was just always around the gym. I called myself a gym rat.
But Ray not only learned to play on the playgrounds, he learned to coach there as well.
Priest called me one night, Father O'Rourke, and he said, he saw me in the gym, and he walked over to me and he said, Ray, do you think that coach out there knows what he's doing? And I said, I don't think he knows whether the ball's got air in her rags, and I left. I didn't say anything, and then the following Thursday night, that afternoon, I got a call from Father and said, hey, the coach is sick. Will you come in and substitute for him tonight? Well, I substituted that night, and I never saw that fella again. I was a permanent substitute, I guess.
His basketball apprenticeship continued at St. Patrick's Academy, where he was a star forward on the National Catholic High School champions in 1932, a team that beat Chicago's St. Mel's 22-20.
I got by because of a lot of hustle and determination. I was one that got a lot of floor burns and things of that nature. I could handle the ball, shoot fairly well, but I was not. The only thing I had really going for me, I could play defense.
And at 5'9" with a wicked hook shot, he earned a scholarship to Notre Dame. Ray captained the Irish his junior and senior years to a 40-6 record and earned All-America honors. That's Ray, number 18.
Johnny Meyer and Paul Novak, Tommy Rokovitz and Earl Brown and that group, they were a great team at Notre Dame. I liked it. I had a lot of fun playing there because we learned to win. We won a lot of games.
After a very short stint as a social worker, he began his coaching career as an assistant to his old coach, George Keegan, at Notre Dame. And along about the same time, he took on his own assistant coach, a 5'4" forward from St. Agatha's Parish, Margaret Mary Delaney, Mrs. Ray Meyer.
This girl had played down in St. Agatha's, the parish that Ray was from, and she asked me to play, if I would like to play on, like practice on Sunday mornings. So I went down there with her, and I met him there. And I don't know if I could tell this story. I know my children get a big bang out of this because I say that I always knew that he liked me because we'd go out for a beer after the game or something like that, and he'd throw popcorn in my beer. And they thought that was rather strange way of showing that he liked me.
The Meyers originally wanted to return home to Chicago, but nevertheless, Ray turned down the only area coaching job he was offered.
So there was a job open at Catholic High at Joliet, so I went out there on a Sunday afternoon, interviewed for the job, and the strangest thing happened. They offered me $1,700 and I wanted $18, and we never did get together, and I went home.
The time was the early 40s. America was tilting toward war. 6 gallons of gasoline cost 98 cents. Chicago was earning its reputation as the hub of America. And in 1942, at the age of 29, Ray Meyer arrived at DePaul. He came to a gym they called the Barn to become the 7th head basketball coach in the school's history. The first 6 lasted a total of 20 years. For Coach, 1981-82 is his 40th season.
I came up with DePaul. They wanted to sign me to a 3-year contract. I said, no, I only want 1 year. I don't know whether I'm going to stay in it or not. But I started with George Mike, and it was a great start. So I got used to winning with him, and I've stayed around for quite a while. It's become a steady job.
They call him a living legend.
DePaul without Ray Meyer would be like a car without an engine. He's the force. He makes it happen.
Well, this living legend comes alive every afternoon at Alumni Hall when the first basketball hits the hardboards to open practice. And this practice week takes on a special meaning because this week in early January, Ray Meyer's preparing for his 1,000th game as coach of DePaul. Only 4 other men in history, Hank Iba, Adolph Rupp, Ed Diddle, and Fog Allen have achieved that milestone. No other active coach even comes close. And this year, he also moves into 5th place on the all-time victories list.
Let's stretch them out now. We're going to do a couple of good ones. Come on, run them out. Well, the players have changed. There's no question about it. They're better. They're more agile, more mobile. They're bigger, stronger. When we played years ago, you're going back, we didn't know anything about diets, weight training. When we had boys here, we had boys that were, say, 6'4", they were big men. Now, 6'4", you're looking at them as a guard. And in other words, the game has grown up where a 6'9" man was just a gangling individual. But the rules in basketball made him a great player because they changed all the rules. Get a man! Stay ahead of him! All right.
Coach means a lot to me. Coach has helped me as a person. You know, he's really straightened me out and helped me in a lot of ways. And Coach, you know, he's a great coach. Even though he makes, you know, great big men, he helped me on a lot of my mistakes, and he's a great teacher.
To his players, his staff, his children, even to his wife, Ray Meyer is coach. Calling him anything else just seems wrong. He's earned that singular title.
Maybe just caught on because the boys started calling him coach, and then everybody else did. And as he grew in stature as a coach, I guess it just became very natural for us to call him that.
But anyone who knows Ray Meyer knows he's also husband, dad, and proud grandpa.
When we were a lot younger, before I was married, even growing up, and my dad had very successful seasons before he had those few lean years. And we had our pictures in the paper, and we were dribbling a basketball, all 6 of us or whatever. We were dressed like the girls, and my mom had the same kind of dress or things like that. And we really always enjoyed it. But I think even then, you're really sort of special because you're Ray Meyer's daughter. I have a daughter now that's a freshman at DePaul, and she's a cheerleader and that, and she just thoroughly enjoys it and loves the fact that, and is very proud of, and I think it gives her a lot of extra attention, the fact that she's Ray Meyer's granddaughter.
In 40 years, a lot of things change.
They changed all the rules. They took the center jump out because they felt the big man had an extreme advantage. They had the 3-second lane because they didn't want the player to stand in the 3-second lane. He had too big an advantage. They widened the lane to 6 foot, and then they still kept the 3-second thing on.
Some things don't change at all.
You stupid jerk! He's not doing it! Oh, hell, we're out. He hit him right in the face, and then you call a foul on him. Holy God! Stay under the basket! I know you don't give a layup! Get him. Artie had his arm. Oh, yes, he did. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Go left. Oh, no, this is ridiculous.
Oh, I do think he has mellowed, yes. I'll be very honest. I think that Coach I think he catches himself now when he's starting to go off and get into his temper tantrums. But he does have a temper, yes.
Coach prepares for his 1000th game in the same way he prepared for the first 999. He does it all the way.
How many Academy Awards did they pass out for him?
Where you see, you have to give a man who's up in the air an opportunity.
My God, every time anybody goes near the basket, they fall down.
Of course, today the head coach has the help he didn't have back then. Son Joey Meyer is coach's right hand and heir apparent.
No matter if I tried to be like Coach, which I'm not going to be, I couldn't be. He is a personality. He is the most visible coach in my mind today. And for me to try to be like him would be foolish. I'm not like him. I think I'll be a lot different. I think I'll be a little bit more of a disciplinarian in the little things. I obviously won't win as many games as he will win. I just won't be as nice a person as he is. I can't give as much of myself as he gives of himself.
In 1942, Ray Meyer was just another young coach struggling to make a name for himself in a world of two-hand set shots and 6'4" centers. And at a time when there was talk of abandoning the DePaul basketball program because of World War II, all Ray Meyer did was revolutionize the game. The tool he used to do it? A young center who was rejected by Notre Dame because, quote, he was too awkward, and besides, he wears glasses, unquote. The first big man, George Mikan.
I always had an idea that a big man would dominate the game. We took him and we kept telling Mike and he could be just as great as he wanted to be.
He started right from the word go. Taught me all the basic moves. In fact, I jumped rope. He had me dancing. He had me running in track. He had me shadow boxing. He had me boxing. Just about everything a man can do for development. Ray was responsible for training me in the game of basketball and doing a lot for my personal outlook on life. He counseled me during my growing years. I describe Ray as one of the finest men I've ever known. He has a temperament to be your buddy and also, while training, to be your taskmaster. He's always represented DePaul with the highest degree of integrity. He's a man of great moral character. He's just one fine guy, and as far as I'm concerned, he's one of my dearest friends.
Well, he reminds me like a flower growing out of the ground. He budded and then he blossomed into a superstar, and it was great coaching him, I'll tell you, because we didn't worry about winning or losing. We just figured what's going to be the score. Do you want to win by 15 or 20? We never had that problem since.
In a move that paved the way for the Bill Russells, Will Chamberlains, and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, Ray built his 1940 squads around the gangly 6'10" giant from Joliet. All the work paid off. DePaul, with a 21-3 record, won the 1945 NIT championship back when the NIT was the most important tournament in college basketball. DePaul and Ray Meyer were on the map. DePaul became a drawing card, attracting huge crowds for doubleheaders at the Chicago Stadium. College basketball was Chicago's sport, and DePaul was Chicago's team. In the late 40s and early 50s, Chicago settled back to work after the war. And the era brought Chicago a new mayor, a young up-and-comer from back of the yards, Richard Daley. And it brought Ray Meyer and his Blue Demons a move to a brand-new alumni hall built for $2 million. But with a few exceptions, those years were lean years, when Ray Meyer earned his reputation as a coach who made the most of his talent. He was a working-class coach in a working-class town. Not able to offer 4 luxurious years in sunny California or some of the other goodies other coaches had at their disposal, Coach built his teams around Chicago area players.
We never had a recruiting budget until 1971, so you know how much recruiting we did. If they came, fine. We go call them on the phone. I don't think till Joey started actually recruiting here, I don't think I was in 2 homes in 35 years.
First of all, to sell DePaul, you got to sell Ray Meyer. I mean, they're interchangeable. If you go out and start talking about DePaul, the first thing they'll say is Ray Meyer, and you have to sell Ray Meyer because I think he's the most important part of our program. He really is.
1960s brought a dramatic new look to Chicago's skyline. And in 1963, Chicago got its first NCAA basketball championship. This one, however, was brought home by DePaul's intra-city rival, Loyola. The Blue Demons, on the other hand, suffered through some very trying seasons. But whether he was loaded with talent or just loaded with hope, Ray Meyer somehow managed to build his teams into winners. He's won because he was able to adapt to the talent and the times.
He instilled a tradition and a belief that winning was of the utmost importance. I think he's calmed down, but I still feel he has that great desire to win. And he was able to instill that not only to me, but I think to most of the other players.
He's won with almost every offense and defense ever diagrammed. He's won with fast break teams, slow teams, teams that played tenacious defense, teams that played wave your arms as they go by defense. He's won because he teaches his players to be winners, just like he is. He's won with players like Dick Triptow, Tommy Meyer, Joey Meyer, Emmett Bryant, Ron Feiereisel, Ken Warzinski, Bill Robenzien, and Curtis Watkins. Today, the Meyer winning tradition has been carried to another Chicago school, the University of Illinois at Chicago Circle, where son Tommy Meyer is head coach.
When I first got through with college ball, I felt that I had all the answers in coaching, and everything I did when I first started out was exactly what I learned from Coach. And then as the years went by, I think I kind of drifted away a little bit, got a little ACC-oriented, Dean Smith, and of course with Knight's success, kind of got a little Bobby Knight-ish, and moved out of the spectrum, so to speak. And I've kind of gone full circle. We're doing similar things now, and it might be that he's been so successful I've come back to a lot of the things. I think coaching philosophy similar, but in styles, it's been a great separation for about, maybe 10 years, and now it's kind of going back together.
In the 70s, Chicago continued to grow by leaps and bounds, and DePaul made the leap back into prominence, helped in part by Coach's famed New Jersey connection that brought in the type of players he never got in the past. But the big break for Coach and DePaul came in 1975 with the recruitment of a 6'11" center with an 8-inch afro, Dave Corzine. Corzine gave Coach Meyer his second bona fide big man to build a team around.
Everything came so easy to him in high school. So he just was not serious. Basketball was a big joke to him, and once he settled down, he became a real fine basketball player.
I developed a lot through college, and he had a lot to do with that, both personally and my playing-wise. He's a great fundamental coach. He knows a lot about basketball. He knows especially a lot about the big man and the center and how to make a good center, and he taught me a lot of things.
In 1974 through 77, he led DePaul to 2 NCAA bids and national recognition. DePaul had hit the big time, and after 30-some years, Ray Meyer was an overnight success, discovered by Sports Illustrated and People magazine. And in 1979, after countless awards and testimonials, Ray Meyer was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, the only active coach ever inducted.
Oh, that was a great honor because that comes from your peers and people you've known all your life. You're going into the Hall of Fame with a lot of people that you know. And I enjoyed my coaching career because I felt that I always coached against the greatest.
Now, if Dave Corzine rekindled the DePaul flame, Mark Aguirre ignited it into another Chicago fire. Aguirre, a high school All-American from Chicago's Westinghouse High School, was recruited by schools from coast to coast, but chose to stay at home and play for Coach. It was a recruiting coup. And as Jane Byrne ushered in a new era in Chicago politics, Meyer and Aguirre ushered in a new era in DePaul basketball. In 3 seasons, Aguirre rewrote the DePaul record books, earned All-America honors, packed the house at DePaul's new home, the Rosemont Horizon, and made DePaul and Ray Meyer TV darlings.
He's on national TV, and everything, the whole world came down on him wherever he went. He was a national figure. And Mark's problem is, probably our problem as well, is that we didn't have anybody that could guide him in practice. There was no challenge. He did everything he wanted to do, and if he wanted to score, if I yelled at him for he wasn't working, he'd go score at will.
As his record speaks, he's a great coach. He knows the game well, you know, and he's been in so many situations that he can almost feel his way through anything. I'm not quite sure that any other coach in college this season has been through the season he's been through. He's coached his way out of some tough situations, and as a man, he's a beautiful person.
Aguirre's freshman year started out with a bang as he scored 28 points against UCLA in his very first college game. And it ended up in a dream as the DePaul Blue Demons made the NCAA Final Four. In the semifinal game, awesome Larry Bird really put on a show. And an injury to forward Curtis Watkins limited DePaul's effectiveness.
In the end, they deserved to win. And injuries are a part of the game. You can't have excuses. No matter how many times we told our players to let Bird get his points and shut everybody else out, but when Bird would make his move to the basket, we'd switch off to pick him up and then he'd give it to somebody else. That was a great performance.
Coach came up just a game short of the championship. This year's team is led by All-American Terry Cummings and senior guard Skip Dillard. Through it all, Coach has somehow remained the same. The slightly rumpled, gruff but lovable guy with the heart of gold, the guy who can't say no to fundraisers, church smokers, holy name dinners, autograph seekers, and the kids who come to his basketball camp at Three Lakes, Wisconsin. The guy everyone loves to love.
Please stay seated, please. You won't get to eat your breakfast very soon.
And after all the years of getting more from his talent than a lesser coach could ever expect, and of coaching hundreds of players, some very good, some, well, not so good, he does have his all-time favorites. Creighton, 1978.
Boy, they were red hot. After 10 minutes, you looked at the scoreboard. We were 20 points down after 10 minutes in the first half. And we started to press them, and we got down to 12 points at halftime. We had a great second half. We shot about 80%, and they didn't shoot very well. And we went on to win it by a couple of points, and that was a very thrilling game because it was a comeback where we were really badly out of it in the first half. That one stands out very vividly in my mind.
St. John's, 1948.
That's probably one of the greatest comebacks we ever had, because with 6 minutes to play in the game, we were down 18 points. And we pressed all over and getting closer and closer to them. We got the ball out of bounds with about 6 seconds to play, and Andy Fedorenko scored, and we went into overtime, and we beat them. We were dead, but we came back to life in that game.
Notre Dame, 1978.
I suppose that was the first time we really were thrown into national limelight or national TV. Oh, with just about 15, 16 seconds to go, and luck would have it, we fouled Branning, and he was their best free thrower, and we thought the game was over, and he went to the line. He had a one-on-one. He missed it, and Corzine got the rebound, whipped it to Garland. Garland took about 2 dribbles and shot it about 35 feet and went straight in. Gun went off, and that was it.
Bowling Green, 1945.
That's the game they said that Otten was too big and strong for Mikan. And we kept pumping him to Mikan all the time, telling him the guy was too good for him. And Mikan came out and killed him. There was no contest. That was the day, the next day the paper came out, and not that DePaul won the tournament, it said Otten is rotten.
And UCLA, 1979.
The UCLA game, I said, was the most memorable one because that was the game that got us into the Final Four. We played against the clock. We thought we knew we couldn't lose the ball game. We came out second half. We said, tell the boys to hold it for 30 seconds and then go in and shoot it. And the idea that if we held it 30 seconds every time, they would only give them 10 minutes to catch us, and we felt that they couldn't overcome that.
But now, it's January 9th, 1982. The opponent, the University of Dayton. Ray Meyer's 1,000th game at DePaul. He meets the team for the pregame meal. It's a time for settling nerves and sizing up the opponent. Then, the game's strategy and a few words of encouragement before the bus ride to the horizon.
He's going to butcher it, he's going to push, he's going to shove. He's a very strong, very physical player, likes to get his shots inside and kind of board on you.
In the locker room, it's time to stretch, warm up, and go over the matchups one last time. This game could go either way.
We don't play well open. Let's go. Let's get ready.
The adrenaline starts to flow. The team gathers in prayer. Now it's time for the short walk to the floor.
Introducing on their 1,000th game, the coach and the First Lady of DePaul, Mr. and Mrs. Ray Meyer.
You got a red carpet, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I can't.
And coach is honored for an accomplishment that may never again be duplicated.
Thank you very much, Father. Thank you very much. I never would have known it was the 1,000th game unless I were told. I think the years have gone by very, very rapidly, and it always does when you're happy. I want to thank all the players who played for me because I think they're the greatest. They're the ones who are responsible for me standing here today.
The Blue Demons jump to an early 10-point lead, but Dayton hangs tough. DePaul leads by only 3 at halftime. In the second half, Eddie Grubbs comes off the bench to spark DePaul to an 11-point lead. But the Blue Demons don't seem to have that killer instinct today. And what could have been an easy victory turns into a real heart-stopper. A Kenny Patterson steal and 2 Bernard Randolph free throws put DePaul ahead 68-67 with 1:20 left. But Dayton claws back. It's 70-69 when Terry Cummings fouls Dayton's George Morrison with 4 seconds left. Dayton has a chance to deprive Coach of a victory. Amid unbelievable noise from the crowd, Morrison misses the first free throw. Coach calls timeout to tighten the screws. Morrison misses the second free throw. Dayton rebounds, but Patterson makes his 6th steal to wrap up the victory 71-69. It isn't pretty, but Coach will take it. Ray Meyer, coach, 40 years, 1,000 games, over 670 wins and counting. Ray Meyer, he is DePaul.